I want to begin today's episode by mentioning something that was quite uncomfortable the first time I heard it. But once I understood it, it was incredibly freeing. Because for a long time, many people have been told, listen to your body, trust your nervous system, and your body always knows. And in many ways, that advice is really important, like truly important. Your body holds intelligence. It notices shifts before your mind does, and it signals when something feels off. But there is a part that we do not talk about enough. And it is that your nervous system, it does not only respond to what is happening, but it is also responding to what it has learned to expect. And sometimes those expectations are outdated. So today, I want to explore something that maybe will be a little bit surprising for you at first, something that might challenge how you interpret your own reactions. Not everything that feels unsafe is actually dangerous, and not every signal your body sends means that something is wrong. Sometimes it means something is unfamiliar. And unfamiliar can feel almost identical to unsafe inside the body. So I want you to think about one moment where your body reacted strongly, even when nothing objectively was wrong. Like maybe your chest got a little bit more tight, or your breath shallowed, or your shoulders lifted. And your mind immediately went to something isn't right, something feels off, I should probably pull back right now. But what if the reaction wasn't telling you that this is dangerous? What if it was telling you this is new, or this is different for what I am used to? Because the nervous system is not designed to tell you what is good. It is designed to tell you what is familiar, and that distinction changes everything. Not what is healthy, not what is aligned, not what is safe in an absolute sense, but what is known, what has been repeated, what your system has practiced before. And here is where people often get confused. They feel tension in the body and assume that that tension means this is not right for me. Or they feel a slight discomfort and assumes that that discomfort means I should stop. Or they feel any uncertainty and assume it means that this must be wrong, I should not proceed. But discomfort and danger are not the same thing. And learning to tell the difference between those two is one of the most important skills you can develop. Because your nervous system is constantly making predictions. It is making predictions based on what has happened before. And if your nervous system learned to associate rest with guilt, calm with vulnerability, visibility with exposure, or peace with unpredictability, then even healthy experiences can feel threatening at first. And this is where today's conversation becomes incredibly powerful, because this conversation is not about ignoring your body. It is not about pushing through your signals, and it is definitely not about overriding your intuition. It is about something much more precise. I want to teach you how to recognize when your body is reacting to the past instead of responding to the present. That is the real skill. Not trusting blindly, not dismissing blindly, but discerning. And if you have ever had a moment where you were pulling back from something good, and not because that was wrong, but because for you it felt uncomfortable in the present moment, or you have been staying in something familiar even when it is not healthy for you or wasn't healthy for you, this episode, this conversation, that will likely feel very personal for you, because many people are not trapped in danger. They are trapped in familiarity. So today, we are going to explore this. We are going to explore how to recognize when your nervous system is signaling true danger and when it is reacting to something that is simply new, like not unsafe, just unfamiliar. And once you understand that difference, you begin to move through life differently. You begin to move through life with more clarity, with more confidence, and with more trust. Not blind trust. You're not moving blindly, but you have informed trust. Like in your body, you feel the trust in your decision. I want to mention a misunderstanding that has become very common in conversations about the nervous system. And on the surface, this misunderstanding sounds wise. It sounds protective. It sounds intuitive. But when you look at it more closely, it keeps people stuck. That belief usually sounds something like, if my body feels uncomfortable, it must mean that something is wrong. That tension means danger, that discomfort means misalignment, and maybe that resistance means you should stop. And in some situation, that interpretation is absolutely correct. Your body, it does signal real danger. Your body signals real threat, it signals real overwhelm, but the problem begins when we treat every uncomfortable sensation as evidence that something is wrong. Because discomfort does not always mean misalignment. Sometimes discomfort just means expansion. Sometimes it means unfamiliar territory. Sometimes it means growth that your nervous system has never practiced before. And this is where many people begin to misread their own body, like unknowingly misread their body because they are interpreting signals too quickly, like without asking the deeper questions. And I want to give you an example here, maybe one that you are not immediately going to recognize. So imagine you are having a free evening. You are not having any obligations, no deadlines awaiting, nothing urgent waiting. Okay. And you have told yourself for weeks that you need rest. You need to rest, that you are tired, you deserve a break. And then the moment comes when you finally come home, you sit down and you slow down and you remove the pressure, and suddenly you feel uneasy. You feel restless and like almost anxious. So your mind starts scanning, like, what should I do now? Did I forgot something, right? I should have done something, or just, is this a waste of time? And without realizing it, you start reaching for your phone. Maybe you even go to your computer. Like you are trying to find something to fill up that space. And you're doing this because stillness for you feels uncomfortable. Now, here is the question. Was rest dangerous? No. But was it unfamiliar? Possible. Especially if your nervous system learned that worth comes from productivity and that safety comes from staying busy, or that slowing down creates vulnerability. And in that moment, your discomfort did not mean that rest was wrong. It meant rest was unfamiliar, and unfamiliar often feels unsafe, even when it isn't. Let's take another example. This one shows up in relationships, and actually not in toxic ones, but this shows up in a healthy relationship. Imagine you meet someone who communicates clearly. They respond when they say they will respond. They do not create any confusion, and they don't disappear and appear and disappear and reappear. Like, no, they are steady, they're consistent, and they are predictable. And instead of feeling relief, you feel something strange, like a lack of intensity, a sense that something is missing, like maybe you even feel boredom. And not because the relationship is wrong, but because your nervous system has learned to associate unpredictability with attention, with excitement, with emotional engagement. And so, consistency, which is objectively safer, that feels less stimulating, less magnetic, less alive. Not because it is unhealthy, but because it is unfamiliar. So this is where many people just misinterpret their signals. They assume, if I do not feel this intensity, it must not be right. But intensity is not always connection, and discomfort is not always danger. So, to really understand why your nervous system sometimes feels like it is lying to you, we need to talk about something called prediction. Because your nervous system is not just reacting to what is happening around you, it is predicting what is about to happen next. It is doing this all the time without asking for your permission. Like your brain and nervous system, they're constantly scanning your environment, looking for patterns, looking for repetition, looking for anything that feels familiar. Not because they want to limit you, but because prediction is how the nervous system conserves energy. It is how it keeps you safe. It assumes what has happened before will likely happen again. And this is incredibly useful. It is what allows you to walk into a room and recognize familiar faces. It is what allows you to drive a car without consciously thinking about every single movement. It allows you to sense tension in a conversation before anyone even says a word. Prediction is efficiency. Prediction is survival. But prediction has a blind spot. It does not predict what is best for you. It predicts what you have practiced. Not what is healthy and not what is aligned, not what is safe in the present moment, but what is known, what has been repeated, what your nervous system has learned to expect. And this is where things get interesting, because many people, they assume that their nervous system is responding to reality, but often it is responding to not your conscious memory, but the lived memory, like the pattern memory, the emotional memory, the body memory. And this is where the phrase, your nervous system is lying to you, becomes a little bit more clear. Because actually, it is not lying, it is predicting. But it is predicting based on old data, not current reality. So think of it like this. If you practiced driving only on rough, bumpy roads, your body would learn to expect that constant vibration. So when you then drive on a smooth road, like you finally drive on a smooth road, no bumps, the stillness, that might feel strange then. That might feel unfamiliar and even unsettling. And not because smooth roads are dangerous, but because your system hasn't learned to trust smoothness yet. This is exactly how nervous system prediction works. Your nervous system trusts what you repeat, not what you deserve. Not what is healthy, not what is aligned. What you practice, what you rehearse, what you expose yourself to again and again, that. Which means something incredibly hopeful, even if it feels uncomfortable at first. Because if your nervous system learns certain predictions, it can also learn new ones. And not overnight, not through force, but through repetition, through new experiences practiced slowly, consistently, and with safety. And now that we have been talking about how the nervous system predicts and how familiarity can feel safer than what is actually good for you, I want to talk about one of the most important distinctions of this entire conversation. Because the goal in today's conversation is not to distrust your body, and it is not to override your nervous system. It is how to become more precise in how you interpret what you feel. Like a signal in the body is real, but the meaning you assign to that signal may not be real. Like your heart racing, it is real. Your chest tightening, that is real. If you have an urge to pull back, that is real. But the story that follows it, like that means danger, this means I should stop, this means this is wrong. That story deserves to be examined, not automatically believed. And this is where discernment begins, by slowing down your interpretation. And to help you understand, I want to give an example from my own life. And this is something that still shows up for me. It is tied to rest, not physical rest, not sleeping. Like this is rest without feeling any pressure, without needing to earn. and without turning rest into productivity in disguise. And I've tried moment after moment to create, like intentionally create a space to rest, like an evening with nothing scheduled, with no obligations, with no urgency, just this space which I knew that I needed. And yet, the moment that space arrived, so the tension. And I started to feel a pressure, like a sense that I should be doing something, that I should be fixing something, that I should be optimizing something and make this time more useful. And if I had interpreted that sensation automatically, maybe I would have assumed that this is not right, this doesn't feel good, so maybe I should not, like I should go back to just working. But what happened for me over time is that I began to recognize something very important, that the discomfort, that wasn't a warning, that was a memory. That was a learned association, that rest had once been connected to guilt, and it has been connected to pressure and to the feeling that if I slowed down, it meant I was falling behind. So my nervous system reacted when I was sitting down, but it was not reacting to the present moment. It was reacting to an old expectation. And once I understood that and just like it clicked for me, something shifted. And I stopped assuming discomfort meant danger. And it didn't happen overnight, like very gradually. And as I said, like this is still something that comes up for me. But now I ask better questions, because the real skill is not reacting faster. It is interpreting more carefully. So how do you actually tell the difference? Like, how do you know when your nervous system is protecting you? Or how do you know when it is reacting to something outdated? And there is a few signals that can help you begin to recognize the difference between these. And they are not rules, they're not patterns. These are just subtle indicators. Like a true warning, that often feels clear in the body. Meanwhile, an old pattern, that feels vague. And when something is genuinely unsafe, there is often clarity that arises in the body, like you have a strong instinct. You feel a direct sense of no, like there is no confusion in that no. There's no overthinking, there's no spiraling analysis. Just a clean boundary, like a clear withdrawal and a sense of certainty. But when discomfort comes from old conditioning, it often feels more diffuse, and it's more mental and more layered with thoughts. Like, what if this goes wrong? What if I fail? What if I embarrass myself? There's no sharp signals there. There's just like a fog of uncertainty. So you see the difference? So now that we have explored how the nervous system predicts, how familiarity can feel safer from what is actually good, and how discomfort doesn't always mean danger, the question becomes, what do you actually do with this? How do you take this understanding and use it in your own life? How do you actually use this in a way that helps your nervous system to update instead of staying trapped in these old predictions? And I'm going to share one of my most powerful ways to do this. It is through reflection. And you can do this reflection in so many ways, but what I want to give you today is just a few journaling questions that you can come back to whenever you want. You do not have to answer these quickly. You do not have to answer these all at once. Please return to them. And especially whenever something feels uncomfortable, when something feels uncertain, or you feel emotionally charged. Because these questions that I'm about to share, they will help you recognize that, is this discomfort protecting me or is it preventing me? So the questions. The first question is, what exactly am I feeling in the body and not just in the mind? So before analyzing, before interpreting, pause and notice. Where do I feel this? Is it tension in the chest? Is it tightness in the shoulders? Or do you feel a heaviness in your stomach? Because naming the sensation, not the story, the sensations, that creates distance between the feeling and the meaning you assign to that feeling. And that distance, that creates clarity. To our second question, Does this feel unsafe or simply unfamiliar? And this question alone can change everything, because many experiences that feel unsafe are actually just new. They are new rhythms, they are new expectations, they are new environments, they are new ways of being. And unfamiliarity, that often feels threatening, and especially when your nervous system hasn't practiced this experience before. To our next question: what does this remind my body of? Not logically, but emotionally, physiologically. Ask yourself, have I felt this before? Have I felt this in another situation? Have I felt this with another person or at another time in my life? Because many reactions are not about deep present moments. They are echoes of earlier experiences, from earlier environments, from earlier patterns that your nervous system learned to anticipate. To our fourth question: if I weren't afraid of discomfort, would I still believe this is wrong for me? This is a powerful one, because sometimes we confuse discomfort with misalignments. Not because something is truly, truly wrong, but because it feels difficult. And this question helps separate true intuition from fear of change. To our final question number 5. What would feel like a small step forward, not a dramatic step? Because updating the nervous system, that doesn't happen through force. It happens through repetition, through small experiences that teach the body this is safe now. Not all at once, gradually, one step at a time. And I want to emphasize something important here. These questions are not meant to override your body. They are meant to deepen your relationship with it. These questions are here to help you listen more precisely, more intelligently, more honestly, because growth does not come from ignoring discomfort, and it does not come from obeying discomfort blindly. It comes from learning to sit with discomfort long enough to understand what it actually means. And thank you so much for staying until the end. I want to leave you with a final reminder that the real shift is not trying to feel comfortable all the time, but it is learning that discomfort doesn't always mean danger. So if something feels uncomfortable this week, before you pull back, before you assume something is wrong, pause and ask yourself, is this danger or is this unfamiliar? That one question alone can change how you move through your life. And if today's episode gave you language for something you have felt or helped you to see your reactions differently, then let that be your starting point. And we will speak again soon. And until then, stay aligned, stay curious, and most important of all, stay true to yourself.